The mining station was cold and silent, floating at the edge of the asteroid belt. Workers moved like shadows, tired from long shifts, and the smell of metal dust filled the air. Among them was a human named Ryan, a man with nothing left but hope and a few credits. He had worked for years, but his pay was always taken by debts and bad luck. Now his account was almost empty, and the thought of starving was close. That night, a trader arrived at the station, a man with a crooked smile and strange cargo. He carried boxes of scrap, broken machines, and one sealed cryopod. The pod was covered in frost, glowing with faint blue light. The trader whispered to the crowd, "Rare salvage, from a wreck no one dares to claim." Most workers laughed and walked away, saying it was junk. But Ryan stood there, his heart racing, his mind telling him to turn away. Still, something inside pulled him toward the pod. The price was high, all his last credits. It was madness, but his hand shook as he gave the payment. The pod was heavy as they dragged it to his small cabin. When the door shut, Ryan looked at the frozen figure inside. Through the icy glass he saw her, a woman, tall and strange with markings on her skin. Her face was calm as if she was sleeping. She was not human, yet her beauty was sharp, almost otherworldly. Ryan pressed his hand to the glass and whispered, "What are you doing here?" No answer came, only the soft hum of the cryopod. He told himself he would sell her later, maybe to scientists, maybe to collectors, but deep inside, he knew this was no simple find. Hours passed, and Ryan sat staring at the pod. The lights in the station flickered, and he felt uneasy. Suddenly the pod beeped, alarms flashing red. The frost melted faster. Steam rising into the small cabin, Ryan stepped back, fear in his chest. He had no training for this, no plan. Then he heard the sound of boots in the hall, soldiers moving fast. He froze, realizing the pod had been tracked. They were not here for him. They were here for her. Ryan's heart pounded. He thought about running, but it was too late. The cabin door shook as someone tried to force it open. He grabbed a wrench, the only weapon he had. Then the pod opened with a hiss, light pouring into the room. The woman gasped, air filling her lungs, her eyes snapping open. They glowed faint silver in the dim light. Ryan's hand shook. He could not believe she was alive. The soldiers outside shouted orders, metal tools banging against the door. The alien woman slowly turned her head, her lips moving. When she spoke, Ryan almost dropped the wrench. She whispered his name, Ryan. He froze, his body stiff, his blood cold. How could she know him? They had never met. Her voice was weak but clear, like a memory he never had. Ryan stepped closer, his throat dry. "How do you know me?" he asked. But before she could answer, the cabin door cracked open. Shadows of armed men filled the gap, ready to break through. The alien woman reached out, her hand trembling, glowing faintly with strange light. Her words were soft but full of warning. "They will kill us both." Ryan's mind spun. He had no reason to trust her. She was a stranger, an alien, a mystery locked in ice, yet in that moment, he felt a bond stronger than fear. The choice was his, when hand her over and live, or fight and die. He gripped the wrench tighter. His jaw set, his decision made. The soldiers shouted again, "Open the door now." The pod's glow reflected in Ryan's eyes, and his voice was steady. "Not today," he whispered. The cabin door burst open, armed figures rushing in, and in the chaos, the frozen stranger, no longer frozen, rose to her feet. Her eyes locked with Ryan's, and for the first time in his life, he felt that his last credits had bought more than just survival. They had bought destiny. The cabin was filled with smoke and shouting. Ryan's heart thundered as soldiers stormed through the broken door. They carried black rifles that hummed with deadly energy. He had only a wrench in his hand, but he swung anyway. Metal clashed against armor, sparks flying, and one soldier stumbled back. Another soldier raised his weapon, ready to fire, then everything froze. The alien woman stood tall beside the open pod, her weak body shaking, her silver eyes glowed brighter, her hand raised slightly. The air itself bent around her. Like heat waves on desert sand, the soldiers hesitated. Confusion in their eyes, one shouted, "She is awake, take her alive." But before they could move, the lights exploded, plunging the room into darkness. Ryan gasped, blinded, his wrench slipping from his sweaty hands. He heard the soldiers curse, stumbling in the dark. Then a pulse of energy blasted from the woman. It was not fire, not lightning, but something raw and invisible. The soldiers fell back, their weapons sparking. Their armor shutting down, silence followed. Broken only by the hiss of damaged circuits, Ryan blinked as the light slowly returned. The soldiers lay on the floor, groaning but alive. The woman stood swaying, her breath heavy, her skin glowing faintly with strange patterns. She looked like a warrior, but also like someone who had just crawled back from death. Ryan whispered, "What are you?" Her eyes turned to him, sharp and tired. "Not enemy," she said slowly. Her voice was broken, as if learning to speak again. Alarms wailed across the station. Red lights spinning, Ryan knew more troops would come. He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the back exit of his cabin. She stumbled, weak on her legs, but she followed. Together they ran through narrow halls filled with flashing lights and panicked workers. People stared at her, some whispering in fear. Others in awe. Ryan ignored them, his mind screaming to just escape. They reached the docking bay, where small ships were waiting. Ryan's old freighter sat at the far corner, rusted but still working. He shoved her inside, slamming the hatch shut. The engines coughed as he powered them up. Outside, soldiers entered the bay, shouting orders. Shots blasted against the hull. Shaking the ship, Ryan cursed, pulling every lever he knew. The freighter roared and lifted. Barely clearing the walls, the bay doors opened, and they shot into the cold black of space. Silence returned, broken only by the hum of the engines. Ryan slumped back in his seat, breathing hard. The woman sat across from him, her skin still glowing faintly. She looked at him with unreadable eyes. "You risked life for me," she said slowly. Her words broken but clear enough. Ryan laughed bitterly. "Yeah, and I don't even know why." He rubbed his face, his nerves burning. "Who are you? Why were they after you?" Her gaze lowered, her voice trembling. "Hunters," she whispered. "Hunters come for me, always." Ryan frowned, leaning forward. "What hunters? What do they want?" She shook her head, struggling to form words. "Warlord. Knows I live. Will not stop." Her eyes closed briefly, her body sagging as exhaustion took her. Ryan watched her carefully, realizing she was both dangerous and fragile. Her power had saved him, but it also drew enemies like fire draws moths. He felt trapped, yet he also felt something else. A strange pull toward her, a feeling that his life was no longer only his own. Hours passed as the freighter drifted in silent space. Ryan set the ship on auto course toward the asteroid fields. Hiding was their only chance, at least for now. He brought her water, and she drank slowly, watching him as if weighing his soul. At last she said, "You not sell me." Ryan shook his head. "I don't sell people, not even aliens." Her lips curved into a faint smile, though her eyes still held sadness. "You different. Human," she whispered. Before Ryan could answer, alarms blared again. The ship's sensors screamed of incoming vessels. On the screen, dark shapes appeared. 3 hunter ships. Sharp like blades, they moved fast, surrounding his freighter like predators. Ryan's heart dropped. "They found us," he whispered. The alien woman sat straighter, her silver eyes glowing again. Her voice was steady this time. "If they catch, both die." Ryan gripped the controls, sweat on his brow. "Then we better not let them catch us." The freighter dove into the asteroid field, rocks spinning like giants in the void. Lasers flashed past, burning holes into drifting stone. Ryan twisted the ship between narrow gaps. Engines screaming, the hunters followed, relentless, their weapons lighting up the shadows. The alien woman placed her hand on the wall, energy spreading through the ship. The engines surged faster than ever before. Ryan stared in shock. "What are you doing?" Her reply was calm, almost a vow. "Keeping us alive." The ship darted deeper into the asteroid maze. For every move Ryan made, the hunters were one step behind. Then, with a sudden gesture, the alien woman closed her eyes. A wave of invisible energy pulsed outward. The hunters' weapons flickered, their engines stalled. All 3 ships spun helplessly into the rocks. Explosions flashing like dying stars. Ryan's freighter slipped free. Battered but alive, the silence of space returned. Heavy and endless, he looked at her, breathless. Fear and awe mixed in his chest. She opened her eyes, weak again, whispering, "Safe, for now." Ryan gripped the controls tighter, staring into the dark void ahead. Safe for now, he thought, but for how long? The freighter shook as it slid deeper into the asteroid field. Chunks of stone the size of mountains drifted past. Spinning slowly in the endless dark, Ryan gripped the controls tight, sweat dripping down his forehead. Every breath felt heavy, As if the whole galaxy was watching him fail, the alien woman sat in the co-pilot chair, her silver eyes glowing faintly. Her skin no longer burned with power, but strange patterns still moved like rivers across her arms. She was weak, but her presence filled the small ship with something Ryan could not name. Hope, fear, maybe both. He looked at her quickly and said, "If they keep chasing, we won't last long." She tilted her head, listening to sounds beyond his hearing. Her voice was quiet. "They always chase, until I vanish or they kill," Ryan cursed under his breath. Slamming a lever forward, the ship darted through a narrow gap, scraping metal against stone behind them. Distant lights appeared once more. Not the 3 broken ships, but more hunters arriving. Sharp vessels shaped like spears, sliding through space with deadly grace. The ship's screen flashed red. Warning of lock-ons, Ryan muttered. "Damn it, they just don't stop." The alien woman placed her hand on the console. The ship's lights flickered as if it was alive under her touch. Engines roared stronger, shields hummed brighter. Ryan stared, his mouth dry. You're making it faster." She nodded slightly, though her face was pale. "I lend strength, but it burns me." Ryan wanted to tell her to stop, but the hunters fired. Beams cutting through asteroids, rocks exploded, sending shards spinning like knives. The freighter dodged, weaving through chaos, barely alive. Hours seemed to pass in minutes, the chase unending. Ryan's arms ached from pulling the controls. Every alarm screamed, every panel shook still. The hunters followed, shadows that refused to fade. Finally, they broke free of the asteroid field. Stars stretched across the black, cold and endless. Ryan slumped in his chair, exhausted. The alien woman closed her eyes, whispering, "Not safe." "They call more," Ryan frowned, leaning forward. "Call more? How?" She opened her eyes again, a flash of fear within them. "Warlord knows I live." The word warlord cut into Ryan like a blade. He had heard stories of tyrants who ruled planets, men who killed for power, but to hear her say it so calmly chilled him. He asked, "Why does he want you?" Her lips trembled, her voice soft. "Because I carry secret he fears." Before Ryan could ask more, the ship's alarm screamed again. A massive shadow appeared ahead, a warship 10 times larger than his freighter. It was black and jagged, with towers of metal like teeth. Dozens of lights blinked along its sides, and hangar bays glowed red. The hunters had driven them straight into a trap. Ryan's blood turned to ice. "We can't fight that." The alien woman's face tightened. "No fight." Hide. But there was no place to hide. Space was too open, too empty. Ryan's hands shook on the controls. "We'll be torn apart." A beam of light shot from the warship. Locking onto their hull, the freighter jolted violently, pulled by a tractor field. Alarms screamed louder, warning of capture. Ryan fought the controls, but it was useless. The ship was dragged closer and closer like prey into the jaws of a beast. The alien woman stood, her legs trembling. Her silver eyes burned brighter, and her voice was sharp. "Listen." Ryan turned, his heart racing. "What?" She leaned closer, whispering, "If we enter, we may not leave, but inside. Chance." He swallowed hard, fear cutting deep. "That's not a plan. That's suicide." Her gaze held his, strong and steady. Better than death in space. The warship swallowed their freighter into a massive hangar. Inside, rows of soldiers waited. Armored and armed, the freighter landed hard. Metal groaning, engines dying. Ryan and the alien woman stood together, silent. The hatch opened with a hiss and cold air rushed in. A voice echoed across the hangar, deep and cruel. "Bring them out!" Soldiers stormed inside. Dragging Ryan to his knees, the alien woman was forced beside him, her arms restrained with glowing chains. She did not resist, but her eyes burned with quiet rage. Ryan struggled, shouting, "Leave her, she's done nothing." The soldiers laughed, their armor clanking as they pushed him down. Then a figure stepped forward, taller than the rest, a man in black armor, his face hidden behind a mask of steel. The warlord himself. His voice rumbled through the hangar, cold as death. "So, the last heir of the Lost Worlds is alive." He turned his mask toward Ryan. "And a human fool spent his last credits to save her." The warlord's laugh echoed. Cruel and sharp, Ryan's chest burned with anger. But he could not move. The alien woman glared at the warlord, her voice low. "You will not win." The warlord tilted his head, amused. "I already have." He raised a hand, and the soldiers lifted their weapons. The order was clear. Her execution would be now. In front of Rian's eyes, Rian's breath caught. His mind screaming for a miracle, the alien woman whispered without looking at him. Trust me, chains glowed brighter. Her skin burned with strange energy. The warlord stepped closer, his blade rising, and in that terrible moment, Ryan felt something awaken in him too, not power, not magic, but the simple courage to defy death itself. The hangar was filled with the sound of soldiers breathing through their helmets. The warlord stood tall in his black armor, his shadow stretching across the floor like a beast. Ryan knelt on the cold metal, chains biting into his wrists. The alien woman stood beside him, her silver eyes locked on the masked tyrant. She was restrained, her power sealed by glowing bands around her arms, but even weakened, her presence burned like fire in the dark. The warlord's voice echoed through the vast chamber. Do you know why I hunted you? His words were aimed at her, but his gaze turned to Ryan with cruel amusement. Ryan clenched his jaw, refusing to look down. He spat. Because you're afraid of her. The warlord laughed, a sound that rattled the walls. Afraid, he repeated. No human, I'm curious. Why would you waste your last credits to buy her coffin? Ryan had no answer. Not one that would make sense to a monster like him. But he spoke anyway, his voice low. Because no one else would, the soldiers muttered. Surprised by his defiance, the warlord tilted his head. Strange, your kind are weak, greedy, and small, but you risk death for an alien you do not know. His mask turned back to the woman. He will die because of you. The alien woman lifted her chin, her voice steady despite the chains. Better he die with honor than you live with chains of fear. The warlord's armored hand twitched, his anger flashing for a moment. Then he raised his blade, pointing it at her throat. Ryan's heart pounded. He struggled against his chains, shouting, Stop! The soldiers laughed again, shoving him back down. The warlord's blade gleamed as he prepared to strike, but just before it fell, Ryan acted. He shifted his weight and slammed his chains against the soldier beside him. The soldier stumbled, his weapon slipping. Ryan snatched it up with desperate strength. The glow burning his palms, he fired blindly, the shot echoing through the hangar. The blast didn't hit the warlord, but it smashed into the ceiling. Sparks rained down, alarms screamed, the whole hangar shuddered. The soldiers rushed forward, shouting orders. Trying to contain the chaos, the warlord growled, his blade swinging toward Ryan in fury. At the last second, the alien woman moved, her chains glowing hotter. She pulled against them with all her might, energy crackling along her skin. With a cry, the bands shattered, releasing a burst of light. Everyone froze as the glow spread around her body. Her silver eyes burned like stars, her voice thundering. You will not take me again. The warlord stepped back. Surprised but not afraid, he raised his hand, and the soldiers aimed their rifles at once. The hangar became a storm of light and fire as battle erupted. Rian rolled across the floor, clutching the stolen rifle. He fired at soldiers rushing him, sparks flying with every shot. The alien woman leaped forward, her hands glowing with raw energy. She swept her arm, and a wave of invisible force sent armored men crashing into walls. The warlord stood still, watching with cold patience, as if he had expected this. As if he wanted to see her power unleashed, Ryan stumbled to her side, panting. We need to get out. Her eyes never left the warlord. He will not let us. The warlord lowered his blade, his voice calm in the chaos. Show me, alien. Show me the power you hide. His words were not a threat, but a command, like he was testing her. The alien woman's face hardened. You want power. Then choke on it, she raised both hands. Energy exploding outward, the hangar shook. Ships rattled on their docks, the floor cracked. Soldiers screamed as their weapons fried. Their armor melting, Rian shielded his eyes, struggling to stay on his feet. But the warlord stood still, his armor glowing as it absorbed the blast. When the light faded, he was still there, untouched. Ryan's heart sank. It didn't hurt him. The alien woman staggered, her strength fading. The warlord's mask tilted as if he smiled beneath it. You see, human, he said coldly. Her power is nothing before me. He lifted his blade. Stepping closer, you will watch her die. And then you will join her. Ryan's breath came fast, his mind racing. He had no weapon strong enough, no plan that could work. But he refused to bow, not now, not after everything. He spotted his mining tool strapped to his belt. It wasn't a weapon, just a cutter for rock. Yet in his shaking hands, it was all he had. The warlord raised his blade high, ready to strike her down. Ryan lunged forward, shouting with every ounce of courage left in him. He slammed the cutter against the warlord's chest, sparks flying. The hangar filled with blinding light as the tool bit into armor not meant to break. The warlord roared, stepping back in fury. Soldiers shouted in panic, the hangar shaking again. The alien woman fell to her knees. Drained but alive, Ryan stood beside her, his chest heaving, his cutter glowing red-hot. The warlord's armor smoked where the tool had struck for the first time. The tyrant looked not amused, but enraged. "You dare," his voice thundered. Shaking the walls, Ryan stared up at him, eyes blazing. "I dare." The hangar trembled as the warlord's rage boiled over, and Ryan realized the real battle had only just begun. The hangar burned with sparks and smoke, soldiers shouted orders, their boots thundering across the metal floor. The warlord stood tall in his black armor, the glowing scar on his chest proof of Ryan's strike. His masked face turned slowly toward the human, fury rolling off him like fire. Ryan held the mining cutter in trembling hands, its blade glowing red from the strike. He knew it could not kill the warlord, but it had done something even more important. It had proven the tyrant could bleed. The alien woman struggled to her feet, her silver eyes glowing weak but steady. She placed a hand on Ryan's arm, her voice soft. "You should not be here." Ryan shook his head, his jaw tight. "Neither should you." The warlord lifted his blade high, its edge humming with dark energy. "Enough games," his voice boomed through the hangar. "You will watch her die, and then I will end you." Ryan tightened his grip, ready to throw himself forward again. But before the blade could fall, the alien woman stepped between them. Her chains still hung broken on her wrists, glowing faintly as if feeding on her strength. Her voice cut through the chaos, sharp as lightning. "You want my power? Then you will see it." She raised her arms and light poured from her skin. Silver patterns raced across her body, burning brighter than before. The floor beneath her cracked, the air bent, and every soldier stumbled back in fear. Ryan shielded his eyes, heat washing over him. The warlord's blade stopped mid-strike as if caught in invisible hands. The hangar shook as energy burst outward, throwing soldiers against walls. Ships rattled, alarms screamed, and sparks rained like falling stars. Ryan could barely breathe, the power was too much. It pressed against his chest, heavy and endless. The alien woman's voice thundered through the hangar, echoing in languages Ryan did not know. Her words twisted the air, breaking glass and shattering screens. The warlord staggered back, his armor glowing, struggling against her strength, but instead of fear, his laughter boomed across the chamber. "Yes, show me," he roared. "Show me what the last heir of the Lost Worlds can do." Ryan's heart froze. "Heir," he whispered, staring at her. The warlord's words revealed a truth hidden from him. She was not just any alien. She was someone important, someone hunted. The woman's silver eyes flicked toward Ryan, and for a moment sorrow filled them. Then her gaze hardened, and she unleashed a final blast. The hangar exploded with light. Soldiers screamed as their armor fried. Weapons melted in their hands, the walls buckled. The freighter was torn from its clamps, slamming against the ground. Ryan fell hard, his ears ringing, his vision blurred. Through the chaos, he saw the warlord's armor cracking, sparks leaping across his chest. But the tyrant still stood, his strength monstrous. The alien woman dropped to her knees. Drained, her glow fading fast, Ryan crawled to her side, grabbing her shoulders. "Stop. You'll kill yourself." Her voice was weak but clear. "Better me. Then Earth." The word struck Ryan like a hammer. "Earth," he whispered. "What does this have to do with Earth?" Her eyes flickered with tears. "He knows your world. He wants to burn it." Ryan's chest went cold, his mind spinning. The warlord's voice thundered again. "Yes, human. Your fragile home is next." He stepped forward, his blade raised once more. "When she is gone, I will erase your kind." As I erased hers, Ryan's blood boiled, rage filling him. He stood between the warlord and the alien woman, lifting the glowing cutter again. "I won't let you," he growled. The warlord laughed, swinging his blade with crushing force. Ryan blocked with the cutter, sparks exploding in every direction. The impact threw him across the floor, pain slicing through his body. He slammed against the freighter's hull. Gasping for air, the cutter slipped from his hand, skidding across the ground. The warlord loomed closer, ready to finish him. Then something strange happened. The alien woman placed her trembling hand on the floor. Silver energy spread like roots across the metal. Racing toward Ryan, the glow crawled up his arms. His chest, his heart, his pain faded. Replaced with burning strength, Ryan's eyes widened as he stood, his body alive with her power. The warlord paused. Watching in surprise, Rian reached out, and the cutter flew back into his hand, glowing brighter than ever. The alien woman's voice whispered in his mind, "I cannot fight alone, but together we can." Ryan's breath shook. "You're giving me your power." Her voice was weak, but sure. "Not giving, sharing," the warlord growled, raising his blade. "You think this changes anything, human?" Ryan stepped forward, the cutter humming like a star in his hand. His eyes glowed faint silver, his voice steady. "It changes everything." The two clashed again, light against shadow, sparks tearing the air apart. Every strike rattled the hangar, every clash shook the walls. Ryan fought with strength he never knew he had, guided by her power. The warlord pressed harder, his rage boiling. His strikes heavy as thunder, but Ryan refused to fall. Behind him, the alien woman whispered words of power, fueling him, holding him steady at last. Ryan drove the cutter into the warlord's chest. The tyrant roared as the blade pierced his armor. For the first time he staggered. Dropping to one knee, the soldiers froze in shock, their unbreakable leader brought low by a human. The warlord's voice shook with fury. "This is not over." He slammed a device on his armor, and in a flash of dark light he vanished. The soldiers scattered. Fleeing in terror, Rian dropped to the ground. The cutter falling from his hand, his chest heaved, his body burned, but he was alive. The alien woman crawled to him, weak but smiling faintly. "You fought like one of us," she whispered. Ryan shook his head, exhausted. "No, I fought like a human." But deep inside he knew this was only the beginning. The warlord was wounded but not gone, and worse, he now carried a weapon aimed at Earth. Ryan stared into the endless dark of space. His fists tight, he had no choice now. The fight was not only hers anymore, it was his too. The freighter drifted through space, its hull cracked and smoking. Inside, Ryan slumped in the pilot's chair, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. The alien woman sat across from him, her body trembling. Silver light fading from her skin, she looked weak, but her eyes still burned with purpose. The battle had shaken them both. But the warlord was not finished. He had escaped, and now his shadow stretched across the stars. Ryan broke the silence first, his voice low. He said Earth was next. The woman nodded slowly. "Yes, his weapon is ready. A planet killer." Rian's heart sank, the words clawing at his mind. A weapon powerful enough to burn worlds. Aimed at his home, he thought of blue skies, oceans, people who never knew what hunted them. He clenched his fists, whispering, "I can't let that happen." The alien woman's voice was soft but firm. "We must stop him, but not with strength alone." Her silver eyes met his. "You carry something he fears, something even he does not understand." Ryan frowned. "I'm just a miner, I'm not special." She reached out, placing her hand over his heart. "You are human," she said simply. "Your kind fight when no hope remains." The ship's alarm broke their moment. On the screen, a massive shadow appeared. The warlord's fortress ship had returned, larger than any vessel Rian had ever seen. Its dark hull bristled with weapons, its center glowing with deadly power. The planet killer was charging, aimed straight at Earth. Ryan gripped the controls, his jaw set. "We'll take the fight to him," he said, his voice shaking but steady. The alien woman placed her hand on the console. Lending what little energy she had, the freighter's engines roared, pushing the battered ship toward the fortress. Alarms screamed as enemy fighters launched, a swarm of blades racing to cut them down. Ryan weaved through the chaos, lasers flashing past. The alien woman closed her eyes, whispering ancient words. Silver light flowed through the freighter, shielding it for a few precious moments. But the enemy fire was endless, and the shields began to crack. Ryan's hands shook on the controls. "We can't hold this forever." Her voice was faint but calm. "We don't need forever, only enough to strike." They broke through the fighters. Heading straight for the fortress's core, the planet killer weapon glowed brighter. Ready to fire, the fortress loomed like a mountain, its surface alive with guns and towers. Ryan's stomach twisted with fear. But he refused to turn back. He shouted over the alarms. "Tell me where to hit," the alien woman pointed, her eyes burning with silver fire. "There, the heart of the weapon. But it will cost us everything." The freighter dived toward the glowing core, enemy fire tearing at its hull. Inside, sparks rained, panels exploded. Smoke filled the cabin. Ryan coughed, his body aching, but his hands never left the controls. The alien woman's voice filled the air, strong despite her weakness. "Ryan, one of us must stay behind to finish this," her words stabbed into him. "Stay behind," he whispered. "You mean die?" She nodded once. "Come, if the weapon fires, billions die. Better one life than a world." Ryan's chest burned, anger mixing with sorrow. "No," he said sharply. "Not after everything, not after I saved you." Her eyes softened, sadness glimmering in the silver light. "You saved me for this reason," she whispered. "To end him, to save your people." Tears burned Ryan's eyes, but he shook his head. "No, if someone stays, it'll be me." She reached out, gripping his hand. "You would give your life for mine," her voice trembled. Ryan stared into her glowing eyes. "I already gave my last credits for you." "What's one more life?" Silence filled the cabin, broken only by the sound of the fortress growing closer. "Finally," she whispered, "human." And her voice carried something more than sorrow, something like respect. The freighter crashed into the fortress, tearing through metal and fire. They tumbled into the weapons control chamber, a vast heart of energy. The warlord stood there waiting, his black armor glowing with power. "You came to die," his voice boomed. Ryan lifted the cutter, its blade alive with silver fire. "Not before I stop you," he growled. The warlord charged, his blade a storm of shadows. Ryan met him head-on, sparks flying as light and dark clashed again. The alien woman stood behind Ryan, chanting words that twisted the air. Her power flowed into him, making him faster, stronger. The warlord's strikes shook the chamber. But Ryan refused to fall. He fought with everything he had. Every breath, every heartbeat. Because behind the warlord's mask, he saw fear. The weapon's core pulsed brighter. "Ready to fire," the alien woman shouted. "Now! Strike now!" Ryan roared, driving the cutter deep into the core. The chamber exploded with light, waves of energy ripping outward. The warlord screamed, thrown back by the blast. His armor shattering, the fortress shook. Alarms blaring, walls collapsing. Ryan staggered, his body broken, his vision fading. The alien woman caught him, her tears glowing silver. "You gave everything," she whispered. "And so will I." She pressed her hand to his chest, pouring the last of her power into him. Silver light filled his heart. Burning but alive, her body trembled, her strength fading into him. The fortress collapsed around them, fire and smoke consuming the sky. But in the heart of that destruction, two figures stood against the darkness. Ryan alive, glowing faintly with her gift. The alien woman weak but smiling, her voice soft. Together, we stopped him. Ryan held her close as the fortress burned. But he knew the war was not over. The warlord had fallen. But the galaxy would not forget, and Earth would never be the same. The fortress was falling apart. Flames tore through the metal halls. Explosions roared in the distance, chunks of steel fell like rain, and the sound of tearing engines filled the void. Ryan staggered through the chaos, his arm wrapped around the alien woman. She leaned heavily against him, her silver glow fading like a dying star. Together they moved through smoke and fire, searching for a way out. Behind them, the warlord's broken armor sparked. He lay among the ruins, but his voice still rumbled. "You think this is victory, human?" he growled. "But the galaxy will never follow you." Ryan turned, his chest heaving, his cutter raised weakly. "You'll never touch Earth," he spat, his voice shaking with rage. The warlord's laugh was harsh and bitter. "If I fall, others will rise." His words echoed as the floor gave way, swallowing him into the fire below. The alien woman whispered, "It is finished," but her eyes showed no relief. They reached the shattered hangar where their freighter had crashed. The ship was broken beyond repair, its hull torn open to the stars. Through the gaps, Ryan saw Earth on the screen, glowing far away, safe for now but still in danger. He pressed his hand against the glass, whispering, "We stopped him." At least this time. The alien woman sank to her knees, her body trembling, her voice was weak, almost fading. "Ryan, I gave you too much of my strength. My life is ending." Ryan dropped beside her, shaking his head. "No, don't say that. We can still fix this." He grabbed her hands, trying to share his warmth, but her skin was cold, the silver glow in her eyes dimming. Tears burned his eyes. "I didn't save you just to lose you now." Her lips curved in the faintest smile. "You already saved me. More than once." She looked at him as if seeing him for the last time. You gave me something my people forgot. Hope. Her head fell forward, her strength slipping away. Ryan's chest ached with helpless anger. Don't leave me, he whispered. Then something strange happened. The glow she had poured into him during the battle began to stir. It spread through his chest, his arms, his hands when he touched her. The silver light flowed back into her body. Her breath caught, her eyes flickered open. She gasped, Ryan, what are you doing? He gritted his teeth. If you shared your life with me, then I'll share mine with you. For a moment, they both glowed together, human and alien. Two lives bound by something neither fully understood. The ruins shook around them. But in that moment there was peace. Her voice trembled. You would give up your life to save mine. Ryan's eyes locked with hers. I already gave my last credits for you, remember? This isn't different. Her tears glimmered like silver stars falling softly down her cheeks. The fortress groaned as another explosion ripped through the walls. They rose together, supporting each other. The alien woman whispered ancient words, her hand raised. Silver light spread around them like a shield. The collapsing roof fell. Fire consumed the hangar, but the light held, carrying them through the storm. When the fire cleared, they floated in open space. The fortress burning behind them like a dying sun. Ships from nearby systems had already gathered, scouts, rebels, even frightened traitors, all staring at the sight of the warlord's fall. Whispers spread through the channels. Voices carried across the stars. They destroyed the weapon. The warlord is gone. A human and an alien stood together. Ryan felt the weight of those words. His heart heavy, he had not asked to be a hero. He had only wanted to survive. Yet now the galaxy looked at him differently, not just as a miner, but as the man who dared to fight. The alien woman turned to him, her silver eyes shining once more. You are more than human now. You are legend, but Ryan shook his head, tired and scarred. I'm just Ryan, he said softly, a fool who spent his last credits. Her smile grew warmer, and changed the fate of the stars. They drifted toward one of the rebel ships. Soldiers opened their hangar doors, guiding them inside for the first time in his life. Ryan felt like he belonged to something greater. Inside the rebel vessel, people stared at him with awe. A miner covered in burns, holding the last air of a lost world. Whispers filled the air. The human who defied the warlord. The alien who survived the frost. But Ryan ignored the voices. His focus stayed on her. She rested against him, her strength slowly returning, her voice soft. The galaxy will come for us both now. We will never be safe, Ryan squeezed her hand, his eyes firm. Then let them come. They'll learn what humans can do. Together they stood in the hangar, two survivors of a war not yet over. Beyond the rebel ship's windows, stars burned bright and endless. The galaxy whispered their names, their story spreading from system to system. Not as prey, not as fugitives, but as symbols. The human who gave everything, and the alien who carried hope. The final words echoed through Ryan's mind as he stared into the stars. One human's last credits did not just save her life. They changed the fate of the stars forever.